Siberia, a land that conjures up the harshest cold one can imagine. With modern temperatures dipping to -70 degrees Celsius in certain areas, there are a few hundred people who endure the bitter cold. They are preceded by our ancestors, the ancient North Eurasians of Eastern Europe and Siberia, who experienced temperatures even more frigid during the last ice age. This is Ancestoria, conquering the Arctic. Until recently, Homo sapiens lived in regions very close to the equator. We arrived in southern Europe 50,000 years ago, and by 35,000 years ago, our ancestors breached the Eastern European plain and southern Siberia, able to withstand fierce cold due to the invention of the needle. This allowed our ancestors to create tailored fur clothes, which is something you cannot ignore the importance of. Not only is it something that is unique to human culture, but it also provides significant protection from the elements, insects, barbs, and toxins. Fitted clothing prevents air from circulating atop the skin, and the hot air that normally seeps through the skin has nowhere to go. Additionally, more water-resistant patterns prevent precipitation from cooling the skin. By 33,000 years ago, the glaciers began to advance southward, and while few ice sheets formed in Siberia and the Eastern European steppes, the temperatures were hardly different from the lands covered in ice, bringing Arctic conditions that forced the ancient North Eurasians to adapt to even harsher conditions. 3,000 years later, when the icy winds intensified, they would combine stitched furs with bone and wood to make tents to push them even further north. Many of these lands lacked natural shelters such as caves, and so humans were able to settle wherever they needed for the night, able to erect a fire with bone and fat as fuel. Ancient North Eurasians quickly went on to establish humanity's first permanent settlement out of mammoth bone and rocks in what is now modern-day Czechia. This is by no means a small feat. A permanent residence means giving up on chasing your food source, which means that there was abundant food in the area for years on end, summer or winter. They likely accomplished this due to the creation of traps, snares, and bolas to capture smaller, fast animals previously not worth the energy. However, a glacial maximum consumed Siberia and forced our ancestors back into more hospitable lands. The Eastern European branch of these peoples would endure, but undergo an evolution fitting the cold, developing shorter limbs, lighter skin, and blonde hair. In the other direction, some ventured onto Beringia, a now submerged landmass connecting Asia and North America. Giving up is not in our blood. A new group reclaimed Siberia 20,000 years ago, similar in terms of technology, but with the addition of wooden bows, skis, and dog sleds. They thrived for over 10,000 years, following the reindeer before being decimated by disease. They mixed with the previously established Beringian population, and then pushed into Alaska, beginning the first colonization of the Americas. Our ancestors pushed their bodies to the maximum extent, carving out new domains in the lands of eternal frost, both east and west of the Ural Mountains. They forced their bodies to undergo fundamental transformations and went beyond the limits of their physiology by using their ingenuity to overcome the failings of their bodies, erecting our own homes for the first time. The seeds of great cities were being sown. This is Ancestoria, the history of our ancestors.